Hello, and welcome back to the 6 Degrees podcast for episode 3. My name is Zachary Lefebvre, and I'm your host. Thank you for joining me again as I set out to have conversations with a variety of people, including musicians, small business owners, digital artists, creatives, and regular folk that all have inspiring stories and journeys. I've been really enjoying the process of figuring out the podcast format and learning more about the creative people in my circle. Every episode, I'm trying to level up, and I really appreciate the support, and I hope you enjoy the conversations I have with each guest. In my 6 degrees, I know there are a ton of first-class humans, and I figured it'd be a great way to tap into the network, hear stories from all these talented individuals, and talk about the big plays they are making. The main goal of the podcast is to connect people, whether it be working together or just connecting with sentiments on the pod. I aim to fill these segments with fun and lighthearted conversations while diving deeper into our guests' minds. This week on the 6 Degrees podcast, we have Cam Steen. Cam is an extremely talented musician, producer, multi-instrumentalist, and handpan extraordinaire. Welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time to speak with me tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for the
Well,
intro.
yeah, of course. It's always fun making those things and trying to figure out, exactly how to introduce people. It's a work in progress, but yeah, just really, really excited to speak with you, and thank you for being the third guest on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I've been listening to the Mr. Bill podcast a lot. So I've been like almost listening to more podcasts than music recently. So
It's a funny thing. I as well, I make a playlist every year and add to it, and it grows. I do have some playlists for like specific vibes and stuff, but early in the year, the playlist is pretty small. By the end of the year, it has all my favorite songs on it, which is wonderful. But yeah, early in the year, I can kind of get burnt out on it. So I've also been listening to a lot of podcasts.
tight. Yeah.
And yeah, they're just, whether it's just like a fun homie conversation like the Andrew Schultz podcast. He's a comedian I really like. Or Joe Rogan is another cool one. He gets some really interesting guests. But yeah, I really love the podcast and was inspired to kind of just do my own. So
Cool.
yeah, we met through some mutual friends in the festival community, and I'm really glad that we did, because you are just an insanely talented human being, and yeah, it's just really inspiring. Your music and you as a human, and yeah, just really excited to kind of dive deeper into Cam Steen. I feel like like we've only had handfuls of conversations since like our paths crossed. I'm not sure if it was at Chula's going away party, or maybe we met one time before. I know we crossed paths also at Same Scene, but different this year.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to get to know you a little bit better. Where are you from?
Uh yeah, thank you for all those kind words and things. I'm from Redondo Beach, California. Um, so like 2 hours north of San Diego, where I live now. And yeah, pretty much grew up in the South Bay, as they call it over there. It's like a little bubble in LA County, but not quite LA, LA.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful spot over there, and definitely more on the outskirts, which is kind of nice because
Yeah,
you get to skirt the whole kind of big city vibe.
yeah, exactly.
But what inspired you to move down to San Diego?
Well, I met a lot of friends through festivals, actually. One of my good friends, Andrew, aka Indigo Valet, I met him at Lightning in a Bottle in 2019. And that was like my first sort of introduction to San Diego. After I met him at the festival, like 3 or 4 months later, I decided to make a trip to San Diego to visit him. Um, and then I became friends with all of his friends and started visiting a few times a year. And then that turned into like almost once a month. And then I met Jesse Jesse Orlando at Lucidity 2 years ago, and we became pretty good friends. And then last year, he's like, I have a spot opening up at the house I'm living in. If you want it, it's yours. So I moved out of my mom's house and came down to San Diego. It just started to it made more sense to live here. I'm here all the time, anyways. So
Yeah, I'm a little biased. I mean, I'm from Orange County, so kind of halfway between San Diego and where you're at. but I feel like it's once you visit once and kind of get a little taste of San Diego, especially when you have good friends down here that and
Yeah.
cover music and things that you're passionate about, it definitely makes it a bigger draw. Uh,
Yeah, the music scene especially too was a huge reason. Like all I had a bunch of friends doing music here, and it's just a lot more community based than what I found in LA. Um, so that was also a really big motivator to kind of get down here.
Yeah. I've gone to handfuls of shows in LA and I've had some, good interactions with people, but it does seem like the San Diego music scene is a little bit more like chill as far as like being welcoming and
Yeah.
it's really cool that you feel that energy when you've been here. What would you say is kind of like the biggest difference then like as far as like the music culture between here and LA?
Well, I'm not like a huge artist by any means. But I feel like in LA, it's hard to get gigs or like really make an impact unless like you're kind of wanted there already. Uh, or if you like live there, like in LA, which I didn't. So that was also kind of another drawback for me. Um, and San Diego just feels like you have opportunities. Like there's a bunch of smaller venues. There's just more like people willing to be like a fan or a supporter in San Diego. That's kind of what it mostly feels like. Whereas in LA, it feels like you're trying to like prove yourself to people almost. Whereas in San Diego, there's like more people that seem just kind of like open to like be your friend, I guess, or like support your music. That's just the vibe I kind of got here.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely seems a little bit more welcoming, and I definitely like I started writing for EDM Identity in 2015, and that's kind of when I started really like diving into shows. And since then, I've seen the music scene really kind of just blossom. New venues, exploring new venues, the types of tours that come through here, and now
Yeah.
it just feels like a huge hub. So it's really cool that we're able to kind of have that experience of being able to get bigger artists or feel the love in what feels like a big scene, but still kind of holds that kind of community kind of feel.
Yeah, definitely. I really like it here. And like I could definitely see myself going back to LA at one point, but it's just so nice here with like the beach and everything. Like everything is so close too. That's another thing. Like getting from one place in LA to another place in LA can take like 30 to 40 minutes, but
Yeah.
like everything is like 15 minutes away in San Diego. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't even really matter where you're at. I
Yeah.
used to live in Claremont, and I just love being so close, yeah, like a 15-minute drive from downtown or OB or
Yeah.
PT or Belly Up or wherever. It just seemed like, yeah, it seemed like it was just everything was just a little bit closer, which um, it just makes such a huge impact on being able to enjoy or go see friends
Does, yeah.
jam or create together. Kind of going into some of your what are some of your earliest memories of falling in love with music?
I started playing guitar at like 8 or 9 years old, and I had my good friends, neighbors, they're my neighbors and friends. They started taking lessons. My friend Matt, who's my age, played drums, and his older brother started playing guitar. So after they were like playing music for like a year or so, they hit me up and they're like, "Hey, you should take lessons with the same teacher, and we could do like a little band practice, like rehearsal things every week." So I started playing guitar with them, and we were all really into metal music. So I grew up listening to K rock with my mom in the car and listening to like Foo Fighters, Metallica, Nirvana, all that stuff. And then that evolved into like Avenged Sevenfold and Slipknot. And that turned into like Trivium and like Gojira. And I was essentially just like a metalhead with my neighbors playing guitar and like a band from like 9 years old until like late high school almost. And I was pretty much only into like that sort of style of music for a very long time. Uh, so yeah, that's like kind of how it started, just guitar and metal music.
Heck yeah. I have similar sentiments as far as like I used to. My mom was the assistant principal at my middle school, and it was in San Clemente. But we always used to listen to Kiss FM and K Rock as well.
Mm,
Uh,
nice.
Weenie Roast was one of the first shows I went to,
Yeah,
and so yeah, K Rock holds a special place in my heart, and I feel like it really kind of like, yeah, just gave me my foundation of music, and I just have
same.
really
Yeah.
fond memories of just like listening to the radio with my mom on the way to school.
Same, yeah. My mom lived in like Long Beach and Lakewood when I was a kid, so we had like a 30 to 40-minute drive to school every day. So it was like a lot of time to listen to K-rock every morning.
So that's awesome that you kind of started in metal. Have you does any of those like earlier influences of what you used to play kind of like seep into some of the things that you're making now?
I think the biggest crossover is the way I think about rhythm and percussion. I was always into like intricate like double kick patterns, like especially this band Gojira, which was one of my favorites. They have this album called The Link that's like very percussive and like tribal almost, and that really made me like think about rhythm sort of in a different way, and less about like melody and like technical shred riffs. And I think I that's like the biggest thing from all of my years playing that music that still comes out today. Besides just like the way I play guitar is very like metal left hand, I guess. But in terms of just like overall expression, definitely like the way I think about rhythm and like patterns and stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I think like one of the cool things that for me, like being able to speak with musicians, like I have a deep love for music, but I don't really have any like music theory knowledge or anything. So it's really cool to kind of like dive in and just kind of hear artists' different perspectives of how they include what seem like kind of, you know, opposite genres to what they're making now, but there seems to be like a common thread in a lot of things. So that's really cool that it kind of manifests that way into what you're making.
Yeah, definitely. And like the older I get and the more experience I have like making music, the more I start to see like these similarities. Like there's a period of time where I was like when I was like just getting into like producing electronic music, there's like a short period of time where I thought like all of my like music like playing abilities and stuff was sort of like a waste of time when it came to like computer nerd producing. But like now I just see so many different crossovers. I see so many crossovers with like handpan and other instruments too. Like it all is like from the same skill tree almost. But like it takes a little bit to like start making all the connections, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. And also, then I kind of want to chat. Like, you then got in. When did you start producing electronic music? Like, what DAW do you use?
Well, I had a friend who I'd like watch him produce more like rap beats and fun stuff when I was in like middle school, and he used Logic. And then my first project, actually, the first music I started to make was like rap or like trap beats on my iPod Touch or like my iPhone Garage Band. So just like making trap beats in like high school on my phone. And then when I was like a junior or senior, I had Logic, but I just never used it. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna try to do something on Logic. And then I made like a little album thing uh, in high school, and that was my first time using Logic. And then I kind of kept messing around with it, but more in like a live music recording way. Like I would record handpan and like basic drum loops and like guitar. And I wouldn't say I got into like producing until maybe like 3 years ago, maybe like 3.5, maybe 3 years ago. So it's just been a lot of like, and even now I feel like I'm not even that good at producing. Like it's such a technical thing, and most people who make the kind of music I use Ableton, so I'm kind of just like figuring it out by trial and error rather than like, I don't know, extensive research.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like DAWs can be very overwhelming, but I think jumping in head first is probably the best way to go, and then just consult the old YouTube University
Yeah.
whenever um, questions arise. But yeah, that's awesome. You kind of mentioned lightning in a bottle earlier, but even if it goes back before then, is there a specific festival or concert you attended that really transformed your love for live music?
Yes, it was lightning in a bottle. 2018. I I was at Coachella 3 years for free in high school. I got a free ticket 3 years in a row. And I was like, okay, this is what music festivals are like, I guess. And then and then when I was in community college, my first year of community college, I was on the volleyball team, and two guys on the volleyball team were like, dude, you gotta come to this festival with us. Like we went last year, it was so much fun. Like just trust me, you have to go. I knew like nothing about it. I had no expectations, thought it'd be like Coachella or something. So yeah, I sent LIB, and yeah, it was crazy. Absolutely blew my mind of like what anything could be or was, and like music wise, it was. I remember there was the Tipper up-tempo set with Android Jones visuals, and I remember like accidentally like staying there and seeing that set and like leaving like feeling like something in my brain changed.
Mhm.
um I think that was a very pivotal moment in my just music career overall.
Yeah, it's the same here, man. Honestly, Coachella was my first festival in 2011. I just randomly went with some of my old high school water polo teammates. We hadn't even
Mm.
reconnected since high school. I think it was probably just because of Facebook and social media. I was like, I think I'm gonna go to Coachella, and they're like, well, if you want a place to camp, you can stay with us. And I'm like really glad that I did because similarly to you, like I had never been to a festival and just and not even really seen that much live music, especially not in like a festival setting. But yeah, just seeing like how big the stages were, being able to discover new music and to kind of like share that whole experience. Of course, the music is, what will always draw me places, but I've been finding
Yeah.
recently that it's always elevated by the people that you are experiencing
Yes,
with. So
definitely.
I felt really, really grateful that I was able to have that Coachella experience with some of my closest friends from my childhood. But then in 2016, I went to Lightning in a Bottle, which was my like kind of transformative
Yeah.
experience. Um, and yeah, it's just like their stages are, so well built and they're, a little bit more creative than just like the hangar
Yeah.
style, like Sahara tent and stuff. Nothing against Sahara tent, I love it. But yeah, just seeing like the little cloths float in the wind at the old Lightning stage that are now at the Grand Artique always like kind of takes me back to that 2016 experience. And then yeah, I went with my brother who like got adopted by a group, and there was about like 25 of us. And that's actually where I ended up meeting like my roommates Colin Worrell, who
Oh, cool.
helped build or do a lot of stuff with the butt stage.
Yeah.
My other roommate Brian Elia and my other buddy Justin. It was just it wasn't until like a year after LIB that I moved down from San Marcos to Claremont where they were at, but we had such a great time together. When a place opened up in their home, I was like, heck yeah, I want to live with these guys. I already know that they're into some of the same things that I'm into.
Yeah.
Kind of when the whole festival snowball kind of started growing for me.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for me, I think it was like Stay Loose was an artist that I had never really heard of, but saw him on the Thunder stage, and he opened up with a um, California Love remix. He played like a Porter Robinson, I think it was Divinity or Sad Machine remix, and then he sprinkled in some of his original productions. And man, I just had such an insane experience. I remember leaving Thunder and just being like, "What just happened to me?" Like, we went back to our camp and just like we were just talking about it. We're like, "I can't believe that just happened. We got to go swim in the lake and like and unwind from that." But yeah, it was Lightning is such a special festival to me. I've been to it, I think, pretty much every year since then, and plan to go to it this year. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think the people that go to the festivals are like the biggest difference because my mom was taking me to shows since I was like 8. Like my first show was the Beastie Boys at the Greek Theater when I was 8 years old, and then she would take me to like all my favorite metal band shows. I went to the Big Four in 6th grade. That was like kind of like a festival. It was like Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth.
Oh, wow.
Um, so that was a pretty crazy experience. And then like Coachella was like cool. And then yeah, Lightning and like that was I didn't know that there's like camping festivals either. So that was my first camping festival too. And like becoming friends with your camp neighbors was like such a awesome experience. Like just like meeting people and like then seeing them again later in the weekend was really cool. Like you can't really do that at Coachella because there's like so many people there. It's like rare you'll run into the same people twice. But yeah, I think the community really like blew my mind kind of. Because yeah, like the metal community is great in its own way, but there's not like same vibe in terms
Yeah,
of like friends and stuff. But um yeah.
that's something that like really stood out to me too is like, yeah, it's just really fun to, you're in the same place, obviously everybody's there to have a good time, see some good music, but yeah, the way that camping festival is kind of like, I'm an extroverted person, but just having neighbors around you kind of like made me be a little bit more outgoing and want to go like meet
Yeah.
them. And then at the end of the day, you can kind of hear them chatting about stuff and you're like, "Oh shoot, you saw that set?" And then kind of just unwind or like decompress and just kind of catch up about the day and hear about some of the shenanigans people got into. Yeah, camping festivals definitely elevated my experience for sure. I can't wait. I feel like it's festival season's kind of underway. If I wasn't on this work contract, I may have gone to like one or two by now. But now that summer's kind of going, I'm really looking forward to getting back out there and kind of
Yeah.
having those experiences again. I think my soul really needs it.
Yeah, I love festival season. I forget how much I miss it until I'm like at a festival and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what it's all about.
So I kind of want to dive into like your handpan. Like the music you play on the handpan is so beautiful. It's a such a
Oh, thank you. Thank
fascinating
you.
instrument to me. It has like such a very organic, meditative sound. And I don't really know too much about the handpans. I know that, pretty much each one is, built differently, maybe like tuned differently. I don't know exactly if what it's made out of impacts the sound that it makes, but if you're describing a handpan to someone that doesn't know much about the instrument, like how does it work? How do you know where to hit it? How hard to hit it? Can you give us like a brief 101 on hand?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So a handpan is like if you know what a like Jamaican steel drum looks like, that's like a good start. And then essentially you invert it so it looks like a turtle shell or like a UFO kind of. So it's like two like like an oval of metal that kind of looks like a UFO. And usually the first ones are made of stainless steel. So like semi flexible, hard, sturdy metal. And now they're made with usually either nitrided steel which is just like an alloy that has other metals in it to like prevent it from rusting, and that one's a little harder. And then there's ember steel as well, which is more similar to raw stainless steel. And same thing, it just is a little more firm and prevents rust. So that's like the materials used. And then there's little circles around it on the top and or bottom if you have bottom notes. And each little circle has can play a note. And we call the circles tone fields, perhaps. And essentially, out of the top dome, the top half of the instrument, there's like a sort of more flat circle indent. And the size of the circle and how floppy it is makes it have a pitch when you hit it with your finger. So it'll vibrate, right? You're literally tuning each individual little circle around the instrument to vibrate at a certain frequency or pitch, and then you'll get notes from it. And you just kind of hit it with like the pad of your finger, um, like not very hard. It's really, you play it very kind of gently, and um, yeah, it's a pretty decently loud instrument for playing it acoustic. Um, it's pretty, yeah, it's awesome. That's like the best way I can like describe it without like I'm trying to describe it to someone who can't see it or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
doesn't know what it looks like. But yeah, it's like a crazy UFO with circles around it, and each circle around the outside can play a note. Like,
Maybe in post I'll put a handpan right here.
yeah, yeah, sure. I have one right here. I don't know. Is the video going up too? Because
Yes, yeah, yeah. People will get
okay,
to see it. Oh, whoa.
yeah. So
That's
this
such
is
a
what
cool design.
it looks like. Yeah, this is Hamsa Handpan's C Kapha. Right, the top has a little ding. We call this the ding, and right, it sits on your lap like this, and you kind of just like use your fingers to gently play uh, the notes. And this one's cool because it has notes on the bottom as well. They are hollow
Oh,
on the
yeah.
inside, so you can put your hand in there,
Would
put
would
things in
that
there.
be like similarly? I was trying to think about it when I was like writing this question. Like would that like like the as far as acoustics, is that kind of like similar to like the inside of a guitar?
I
Like
think
how it reverberates or resonates in there and it goes outward?
I think so. Because like if you play it with the bottom open, it sounds a little bit more, a little louder and more like reverbed. I play with on my knees, so it sounds a little bit more like muted and like versus like if you kind of have it opened.
Mm.
Because I kind of like having it a little more subdued because I like to play like a little faster and percussively. So I like when the notes stop a little earlier. Um, but yeah, this is a
Super cool.
what
I
it looks
love
like.
the flower design. It is. I love how geometric it is.
Yeah, this one's cool. Yeah, and each handpan comes in a specific scale and key, right? So once you get the instrument and they tune it, you can't change it. It can go slightly out of tune by playing it over time or like damage, but once the notes are like set, you can't really change them. So you can't like get a scale and then change it later. You'd have to get a
Mhm.
completely new handpan.
Super interesting. So have you ever, I mean, I imagine that you have, but like as far as like on a piano when you do three, is that a triad?
Yeah.
And then like you can get like harmonic chords together. Do you jam with other people that have handpans in a key that is like harmonic to yours? And do jam
Yeah.
sessions like really kind of like I imagine that the sound is just so cool when you get three hand pans that kind of harmonize together like really well.
Yeah, it is really cool. I was at Pantasia. I was there last year, and I'm gonna be there again this year. And that was like the first experience where I was just in a room filled with like 40 plus hand pans, and like being in a jam session with like five hand pans and like other weird percussion instruments, and then like seeing performances by people who play songs with like three hand pans, or like More Than Physics, their live set, they play 11 hand pans. So I just saw like so many hand pans being intertwined and intermingled, and like different companies just making the same hand pan sound. They sound pretty different sometimes. So that can be a cool. Yeah, they work. You can even sometimes play like if you have a hand pan, like a D minor hand pan, you can play just certain notes from other hand pans that'll still fit in that key.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, you can kind of mix and match if you want. What some people do, they'll have a hand pan in like D minor, and then they'll have like another one in like D sharp something, so they can get like half steps and play really interesting, weird stuff on the hand pan.
Wow, that's so cool. I kind
Yeah,
of
like,
go. Oh, sorry. Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say like More Than Physics, right? They have 11 hand pans they're playing. So they'll do like half step chords on the hand pan. It's crazy. Like if you were to just slide down like a minor seventh chord on piano or guitar, but like on hand pan. It sounds crazy.
You know what I kind of just like envision is it like Rush, and I know other bands probably do it, but like their drummer, right, has like a 360 drum set and he kind of has that little
Yeah.
swivel chair where he can kind of just jam on like a bunch of different drums around him. I feel like that'd be so cool to see if like somebody just in like a circle of hand pans where you can kind of
Yeah.
spin around in a circle and just kind of jam out on whatever um like key or vibe that they want to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's essentially what More Than Physics kind of does. It's like
Cool.
this duo from Colorado, and yeah, one of them just is in a circle of hand pans, and then the other guy will play like vibraphone or something and handpan too. It's ridiculous. It's the most handpans I've seen in one person's performance ever.
Going a little deeper, as someone who's like practiced in handpan, but also just an all-around extremely talented musician, when you have music in your head, how do you approach getting it out of your head on a handpan rather than like a guitar or instrument? And do you like prefer to kind of express yourself on one or the other more?
So guitar, I've been playing guitar for a long time now, since I was like 9. I'm 25, and once I discovered handpan and like playing that more consistently, it became easy, obviously, but it never really felt like practice. It always just felt like I was having fun, or like just playing to play, and it always was easier to sound good on a handpan than guitar. Whereas guitar, I have to like actively practice and like struggle a
Mhm.
lot to like get better. So I think I just naturally have like a easier time with handpan. And I think of a lot of like rhythms in my head all the time that I can kind of just do on handpan versus guitar. Like if I have something in my head, it might take me a little to figure out the melody and stuff. But with handpan, it's so much like easier of an instrument, in my opinion. Because right, you don't have to worry about the notes as much as just like having your timing really well, and like your touch and stuff. And it just always has came a lot easier for me. Like handpan just always felt more natural than any other instrument I've ever played ever, which is pretty crazy because like I've spent so much time on guitar. I've spent a lot of time playing drums, like bass, but like handpan has just felt freaking good always, which is cool. It's a really unique experience.
Yeah, I mean I don't play any instruments, but just kind of like the type of sound that a handpan makes, and I guess maybe the fact that, all the all the notes on the handpan live kind of in the same world. You can strum a guitar with your fingers anywhere, and it might not sound good, but when you are gently playing the handpan, even if it's just one note, the what resonates and the sound that comes from a handpan just always sounds like pristine.
It does. Yeah. Yeah, if you have a good handpan, you can really do almost anything and it'll be pretty nice.
Well, maybe that's something. Maybe I need to get myself a handpan.
Yeah, it's amazing instrument for like people who've never played an instrument. I teach handpan and a lot of people I teach, it's their first instrument ever. And it's like really good way to learn like basics of like rhythm and like chords and things. It's great.
So kind of contrasting the handpan, you produce a variety of bass music as well. You also played on the inner bass stage last year at Same Same. Um, and you've been teasing some new tunes on IG. Like you got a track coming out what next week with Murillo?
With Evan Hatfield.
Or
Yeah.
do you have am I did I do you have a track with Murillo as well coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, we're working on a few tracks. We don't have like a finished one yet, but we started to this past Saturday actually. And I have played guitar on a few of his tracks as well. But yeah, this next one coming out on the 30th is with Evan Hatfield. And like the three of us are all our buddies, so um we've done a lot of music stuff together. But yeah, it's that's like what I've been focusing on primarily is like producing bass music.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did those like collaborations come to be?
Really interesting. Uh, I think so. Murillo's fiance got him a handpan for a present, and uh, Murillo DM'd me on Instagram because he got his handpan from Hamsa Handpans, which is the same maker that makes my handpans. And he sent me a message and was just like, "Hey, like I just got a handpan. Like we should jam sometime." And I was like, I looked at his page. I've never heard of Murillo. And I looked at his page and I was like, he's a drummer for a reggae band and like an insane bass music producer and like just hit me up about handpan. I was like, this is fucking tight. Like, let's fucking hang out. So we like just hung out at a park and like played some handpan and kicked it and then it's super fun. And then I was like telling him about like how I've been like producing and making music. And then yeah, he invited me over to do a session, um, make a track together in his studio. And that's when we started Psychedelic Sunset, which is out, came out last year. And yeah, that was a great one. I love that song. So I played like handpan, guitar, a lot of other percussion instruments on that track. Um, and then because I was like kind of close with Murillo, last year, or I guess yeah, no, last year at Lucidity, me and Evan became like sort of internet friends because of Murillo, and Evan Hatfield's like one of my biggest freaking idols of all time. Like, he's so insane at music. And I had this track that needed something else in it. And I was at Lucidity and I saw Evan just like kicking it. And I was like, I should just ask him if he wants to play sitar on it. So I just went up to him and was like, hey, like, we kind of know each other, but I have this track that I think would be really cool with sitar on it. And he was like super nice. And he's just like, yeah, okay, just send me an email it to me and I'll let you know. And I was like, tight. So after the festival, I like went home and like worked on it, made it try to sound really good. And then he's like, you should just come over uh, and I'll record it while you're there and we can like work on it and stuff. So I went to Evan's house and we did a studio session there. He recorded sitar on it, And that's the track that's actually coming out in like 2 weeks. Um,
Perfect. Well, I'm glad that we're able to chat about this now so that when this does come out, we can just try to get as much support for this epic collaboration. It's really cool
yeah,
too how these came about. It just seems like you guys were all at the same, place in life. Really kind of diving into producing bass music, but already had a love for the hand pan. And then Merla was already producing bass music, but just learning a love for the hand pan. So it just seems like just like a really, really great synchronicity between a bunch of awesome artists.
yeah, definitely. And like that's the one thing like when I kind of mentioned like when I started producing electronic music, like I thought like my musical skills were like not that important, but like some of the best connections I've made in this journey have been because of like my ability to like play a physical instrument
Hmm.
and like share that skill with other people. um, yeah, it's cool. And both of those guys are like musicians first, uh like producers second. Not that they're not good at producing, but like they're like Evan wakes up at like before sunrise every day to practice guitar. It's it's insane. Like his dedication to his instrument is like very inspiring.
That's super awesome. And you kind of spoke to this just a little bit ago, but I know you jam a lot, and I've been really digging your garden jams. How does the garden environment influence the sessions? And do you have a favorite place that you like to jam?
Yeah, so the garden sessions are with Pocket Change, which is Johnny and Hunter's little project that they've been doing. Um, and yeah, they're amazing. I live with Johnny. He's a fantastic keyboard player, like bluegrass guitar player. Hunter's fantastic drummer. So yeah, they invited me to do a session and it was like really fun. I really just I miss like producing's like primarily a very solitary experience, kind of nerdy. You're just on your computer with like bad posture for hours. So like getting out there in like a new environment outside of my room
Yeah.
where I like make 90% of my music was like super nice. Just playing music outside, um, something I don't do very often. It's just always nice to have a little change of like scenery and with different people. I don't really do it by myself though, which kind of sucks. I just whenever I make music, it's like in here because I can film it, record it the best
Hmm.
I can. But yeah, I my answer is like I need to get out more.
Yeah.
um,
I feel that also kind of I guess this kind of leads to another like kind of interesting question. Like, yeah, the landscape of music has changed like quite a lot with like social media and stuff. And I mean, now that especially being like an independent artist and everything, you're in charge of your marketing and branding and all that kind of stuff. Like, how do you find a balance? Like of course, being in the studio, being in the room and putting in the work is I feel like most people just want to focus on like playing and doing what they love, but then, it's like you have to have a social media following. We have to put out consistent content. Like, how do you find that balance um, in
uh,
all that?
it freaking sucks, dude. It's like I hate it, but like uh I've had like this is what a lot of people I talk about this a lot because I first of all, I think there's like an essence of musicians and like people who are really about making music and super passionate about their craft, like right, we always talk about like promotion and like posting on social media as like this negative thing you have to do and like it kind of sucks, and that is true. But I think the quicker like us as musicians and people just kind of like suck it up and like don't judge other musicians and artists for putting more time into that, the quicker we're going to kind of get over this hump and just like accept that it's like part of what we have to do.
Yeah.
um I think it's like way better these days than it was like 20 years ago. Like you can advertise yourself for free to millions of people with social media, which is like an opportunity you never had a chance of doing like back in the day. And in terms of like balance, it's like you decide, how much of that sort of game you want to play.
Hmm.
And it's always discouraging, like, because I do enjoy making some videos, but the videos I enjoy making of like, I post videos of like using like a piece of metal, like a
Yeah,
floppy piece
sure.
of metal in a song, and like going hard on the editing, like video editing, and like those videos don't do well. And then like I'll film myself playing handpan like 2 minutes tops, and those things do like really well. So like the amount you put in versus what you get out is never consistent or
Hmm.
what you want from it. Um, but it's really just you can do it or not. You if you're dedicated and just making good music, like you will have a career. Like I think unless you're just not posting it, you know?
Yeah.
Like or if you like are okay at music but you're really good at advertising, you can have a career. Like it really I think there's just more options, right?
Hmm.
And like I think it's has this kind of negative connotation because there are people who spend more time just doing the marketing who are getting successful, and people who are just working on music feel like it's sort of unfair. Um, but I think they're both valid choices, and however
Yeah, I
much
think
time.
yeah, there's definitely gotta yeah. I mean, I guess that's what balance is all about, and just trying to strike that. But yeah, I suppose yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the landscape of it is so different. It is so cool that where you might have been, kind of not like stuck, but like your music kind of just lived where you were at with the people that you were around or the shows that you played. But yeah, with the power of social media now, your video can be seen by hundreds and thousands or more of people, and I think that's just a wonderful benefit of it. And then yeah, just kind of having the mindset of using it for what it's good for, and then trying to
Yeah,
compartmentalize the grueling aspects of editing and all that stuff. It's just kind of part of the process where, like you said, you just kind of gotta get through it.
exactly. Yeah, I think if like words of like encouragement or like ways to balance it are just to like give yourself little challenges or things like
Hmm.
um and just like variation in what kind of like content you want to post is like a good way to not get like burnt out. Like I make videos about like with floppy pieces of metal. That's a good contrast from just like my handpan playing, and like the garden groove stuff with Johnny is a really nice thing I can post on social media that doesn't feel like social media, I guess.
Hmm.
So like if you have like a lot of lanes to kind of navigate through, it can be a little bit easier. I think in terms of like your own mental ability to make stuff.
Yeah. And so I know we kind of touched on, some of the tracks you got coming out, but do you have any what else do you have going on and that we may not have covered or that you want to share, like more upcoming releases, more Cam Steen shows, things along those lines?
Yeah, so track with Evan Hatfield, it's called Eye of the Storm, coming out on March 30th. I'm really excited about that one. My friend Gonzalo, did the art for it. He made this incredible painting that I think fits the song really well. Just happened to be working on these things at the same time, so we just like made sense if we collabed on it. So I'm really excited for that. And then next month, I have another collab coming out with Dan Molequeen, who's a absolutely fantastic handpan player, world renowned, traveling the world for handpan, one of the handpan OGs. So we have a handpan dubstep song coming out late April,
Let's go.
and my friend Robbie Goodell, is doing the art for that one. Sounds also going to be a beautiful collab between the three of us. So yeah, I'm trying to put out music about once a month this year with an EP at the end of the year. In terms of like events, I'm going to Pantasia in May. That's like an amazing like handpan retreat, like weekend long jam session. It's amazing. And I'll be at Curiosity, which is the Inquiry Boys little desert renegade. That's next month in April. And that's really about it. Just music about once a month. And yeah. I think that's all I got in the
Epic.
books, really.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
still, it sounds like you got your hands full. I mean, I feel like putting out a song once a month and balancing, other collaborations, preparing for live sets, multiple different types of sets across, maybe different vibe festivals or different themed events, definitely looking forward to it. And it seems like, yeah, just a lot of really great, exciting things happening for you.
yeah, I'm super excited. I've accepted this year being like I just need to put music out. It's like my main goal. And I'm not upset that I'm not getting like a lot of bookings or anything because I just have a lot of time to work on music and it feels really good. I feel like really good about the whole music journey and stuff right now. So I'm stoked.
Hell yeah. Well, I think that's a great mindset to have. I think like like work or whatever, you just do what you love, money will follow, or you make music and put it out and the shows will come.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean I've seen you play, I've seen your set at Same Same, and yeah, just super exciting, all the developments and collaborations, and really love to hear your focus. So I have no doubt in my mind that the journey will lead you to whatever goals you have set out in your mind.
Ah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
Means a lot coming from someone who's around a bunch of musicians and is in the scene pretty heavily. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, honestly, that kind of wraps it up here on my end. Yeah, just again, want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. I'm really stoked about this conversation, learned a lot, and just really excited to support another homie in the San Diego scene. So, yeah, thank you so much. And, when I roll the credits after this, we'll put your how people can follow you and support you on Instagram, Spotify, all that fun stuff. And yeah, just thank you so much. And excited to see what else this year has in store for you.
Tight. Thank you very much. It was absolutely fantastic talking to you and getting to know you a little better. Uh,
Likewise.
Thanks for
Well,
having
when
me.
I'm back in San Diego, I hope we can reconnect. But until then, I will definitely stay posted on everything Cam Steen.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, have a good rest of your night, Cam, and
Thanks.
I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Alrighty, bye.